Hi, everybody. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Kat. Hi, everyone.
How are you doing, Andrea?
I'm good. I'm good. We got our tech sorted, so that's the
Great.
main thing. I'm happy. Get the tech sorted, and then I'm happy.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's bane of my life and probably everybody else's who's been
Yeah,
living life in lockdown and on Zoom. It
on Zoom.
sends us all bonkers. Well, we'll give everyone a couple of seconds to get here. And in that time, maybe I'll introduce you a little to perhaps people don't yet know you. Some people here I know are doing this retreat is their first ever retreat. So Andrea is obviously teacher on Movement for Modern Life, but you are also a senior Jivamukti yoga teacher, which means that you're the one who does the Jivamukti trainings.
I mentor on the trainings. Yeah.
You mentor on the trainings, and also you are an amazing yin yoga teacher. And Andrea is you're my teacher as well, and my mum's teacher for years now. So you're a very, very close friend, very dear to my heart. And we have been on real life retreats. I have done retreats with Andrea. My mum goes, I think, twice a year now. She's a bit of a retreat junkie with you. So it's really nice that you're able to join us on this virtual retreat, home yoga retreat, because I know how powerful your real retreats are. And it's funny that on our real retreats, a big part of it is the intention setting. I know that's a big part of what you do. So I'm really looking forward to a conversation about the power of intention setting because it is so powerful as a sort of, yeah, as a thing that we all do. Now, I'm just going to get the comments up. When I look to the side, I'm not being rude.
No. I can start to see them coming in. I've just done the class. This is good. Hi, Emma.
Excellent. Oh, and Tyler. Hi.
Yes. Hi, Anne.
Hi. And hi, Millie. Hi, Lizzie. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Anne. Yeah. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Fiona. Brilliant. Well, we've got a lovely crew. So, should I just let you kick off, Andrea?
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you, Kat. I was having a little look this morning about comments and things of yesterday. And obviously now this is the third of our virtual retreats that we've been doing. And I mean, I've been struck just as a teacher sort of during this time, how the retreating idea, I mean, retreat basically means you withdraw from the world. So, I mean, we're all in a way all doing that. We might be forced to be doing that, but how much people have actually got out of them. And when we spoke about doing this third one of this sort of, you could say, I don't know, the transitioning from maybe lockdown to something else. And we had a good conversation about that, didn't we? About, you know, people always talking about, you know, going back to normal, and some of the powerful intentions and the affirmations that I might share this afternoon are about that. What's the new normal going to look like? But I think that, you know, from running retreats and even during, for me, this time, I've tried to have some powerful intentions that I see around. I've even got some on the wall now as it's sort of in my sort of yoga space. But they're really helpful for keeping us in a direction. And I think that's one of the things that people have really enjoyed with the virtual retreats, is that we've kind of very kindly, but we've nudged them in a direction. So intention setting, I mean, an intention determines the result of anything that you do. That's the first thing to sort of really think about. And I know with, you know, the wonderful booklet that you've put together for everybody, and I have read that, I've, you know, had a, you know, real good look at it. I find that sometimes those, either a visual, as I say, a visual intention, personal intention at the beginning of something. So we're doing this now, aren't we, in day 2 now of the retreat, is a really good way to direct the focus into what will come. Do you use a lot of intentions, Kat? Do you?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, they intention setting literally powers my life. In my yoga practice, definitely, like before every practice I'll set an intention for the practice, but also in life. I feel I came across sort of intention setting and the power of our minds to direct how we feel about something, so it sort of frames my perspective on things.
And you know, in the Jivamukti method, I mean, the power of intention is the first thing that we do. So like you said, when you sort of come to the mat, wherever you are, you frame that intention. And what I love so much about it is that it can be something that's very personal, and you'll see with some of the things that, you know, maybe I talk about, that it can be very much about a personal thing, but actually I think the best ones are deeper. So it's more how we connect towards ourselves, and then from that connection, how can we have a powerful intention that is connecting to others, connecting to the world, connecting to the planet, you know, and really think big, don't think small. Think big with them.
I think that's right, and especially for this whole for me, this is the exciting thing of this retreat and of the lockdown, because it's so big. It's literally affected everybody on the planet. It couldn't be any bigger. And our entire worlds have been turned upside down. Your teaching schedule, my life, everybody here's life has been turned upside down in ways we couldn't have imagined it. And it is that opportunity to completely reimagine and think big and be brave. That's exactly what I was hoping we'd all be able to sort of manifest and bring as we come on this, is that being brave and being bold and being unafraid to create that new world through our intentions.
Well, I've been asking a lot of students that regularly come to my class. I mean, for the first few weeks, I decided that I was going to say a quote from different people, and some of those, you know, wonderful individuals are on the list that I've got for us today. And I wanted to not only set that intention, but also leave the sessions with that thought that, you know, like you say, you know, your thoughts create your world. And I've been encouraging everybody to journal a little bit more. I know, I'd be very interested in the movers group, but I know that people's dreams have been incredibly, unbelievably, like, you know, big, and, you know, some unusual dreams for people. And of course, this is because the subconscious mind, that part of our mind, is almost, we're playing catch up each day, or certainly in the first few weeks or few months, with the information that we are having to get through. You know, as I said, this is now, you know, a time where, you know, some people are going out a little bit more, some people are back at work. And I think from what I've been hearing from some of my students, they feel even more, a little bit uncertain. So this is where a powerful intention and affirmation could really help. You could not just use it when you write down as you go through the days of our retreat. You could use it as something personally, as a mantra. And a mantra in yoga, it's a wonderful translation in English. It means helping the mind cross from one state to another. It's like a bridge. So, you know, I don't know if you were going back to work, or you're starting to go back on public transport, or you're starting to maybe come into your new normal. What are you going to take from this time? It could be this powerful intention.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Now we have a question from Sam Morrill. Thank you very much for asking, Sam. When you say big, Andrea, do you mean expansive, or do you mean big? Please help me understand.
Please help me understand. Well, I mean, I always think you should dream big, go big. You know, I think that when you say expansive, some of the aspects of yoga require us to withdraw in, as I said, retreating in, to really think about what is it that we would like to manifest. So, I know it can seem sometimes that the language of peace for all, equal rights for all, a planet that is, beneficial for all, that could seem really big. It could seem really out there. But there are many individual beings that have shown through history that when they think like that and they have that intention, that creates a whole movement. So as much as you feel, if you want to be very expansive and you want to be creative in your messaging, in your language, then I think that you should go with that. And if that is too much to consider, because I think that the other thing with this is that yoga is very much about taking steps, and they lead to another step. So, my teacher always says, you want to create peace in the world, start by creating peace within yourself. So you might think that creating peace in the world is the big thing, but for many of us, I'm sure we'll all realize, actually being peaceful and calm and collective daily is a really expansive and actually a very radical idea for a lot of us. So, I want to encourage everybody to, if there's something that you've been really feeling and thinking about, and, huge things have happened, haven't they? We know politically, we know what happened a couple of weeks ago, and the protests and the movement, that we're going through this massively expansive time, I think, collectively, I think consciously, I think yogically, as much as I know for a lot of people, and I talked about this on the last retreat, we are all in some degree having some level of suffering, and that will very much depend on, who you are. But collectively, we are in it together. So if we manifest things together, if we as yogis really pull together, they say that when people meditate, if you're meditating and everyone is meditating, you don't have to be present. But, on International Yoga Day that's coming up, later this month, when we all meditate and we all think about oneness, that's the expansive intention that will change the world.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful for me. And I love Alex's comment. I love the big intention and commitment.
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, absolutely. That's what it is to think big.
Absolutely. And, every act, every small thing that we do collectively makes a difference.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, to not think small and also not to scare ourselves, let's have a think about some intentions and affirmations that people might be working with. I know that various things were voiced yesterday, and one theme was simplicity. That people are looking for something more simple. That, I mean, I had that as an intention for the start of this year, to simplify, and little did I know what a gift I'd be given in the way of simplicity. So I think that that's something which definitely has resonated with a lot of people.
Well, they could, what I suggest for everybody as they do the retreat is that they maybe, it's up to you, but maybe think of maybe 1, 2, or 3 of those intentions. I have one of the most widely used, but I absolutely love it, and it's by Mahatma Gandhi. And it links to that. I saw what people were talking about yesterday. Live simply so others can simply live.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's a beautiful one. Now that could be, if you enjoy that, if you like that way, that approach, if you wanted to write that down, we can share some of these, Kat, as well with the group, can't we? I'll write some some down, and I know I sent some to you. So don't worry if you don't get them all down, but maybe simplicity and living more simply could be something that you use as your intention and also as a daily affirmation.
And so Emma has written as well, and this is a really interesting comment. We were also thinking about the simplicity and the scaling back. And I think it's really interesting that what you're saying here, because in a way we're thinking we're unafraid to think big, but also thinking very, very simply. And how do those sit together? And yes, doing big stuff feels worrying right now, unless it's on a small scale. And I think you're absolutely right. It is. Those are two things that exist together at the same time. But I always think that when two things really contradict, that's kind of when they are at one sort of thing. It's like the yin and yang.
Yes, and I can't see everyone's names. I don't know who's just put the quote up. Getting simple sometimes open up space for the big stuff to reveal itself. I've noticed this more recently. Simple doesn't mean we can't dream big. And actually, that's what I'm talking about. What I'm not talking about is doing things big. The power of intention is the manifestation of that. So it's about focusing, closing our eyes, taking a few minutes. What is it that we would like as an intention for the next few days? But you could take this into the next few months. I know I'm going to. I mean, I'm going to stay with some of these. And when you were saying about the aspect of sort of as coming in and being small, I know, like you, because lots of us have posted about this, that we have been supporting small businesses and really seeing the messages behind that. Whereas we might go to, I'm not going to name some of the big companies, but trying to find things that support local. These are all really great intentions that we may have had, but actually before this period of time, maybe we did go to the bigger companies. So this is really what we're talking about, of being simple, where it's local, things don't travel as far, you're supporting local produce, for example, if we're talking about food or things like that. There's many, I think the thing with this is there's many layers of it. So you don't have to think really big if you don't want to. But I want to encourage, exactly as we see with our young activists like Greta Thunberg, that, that can change the world. I wanted to just give you this one that I found, which I just thought was something for us all to reflect on. And of course, it's by the wonderful Sufi poet Rumi. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. Do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side that you are used to is better than the one that is to come? Let's let that linger for a little bit.
Yeah. And it's very apt, I think, for right now, that I think that that not being afraid to say that, okay, let's simplify, because I certainly am simplifying my own life, but not being afraid of what that might bring up.
Yeah, and the yoga path is all about our ability to go with the flow. That's actually what it means to be flexible. It's not about taking your feet behind your head. I mean, listen, that can change you. But as one student who said to me, he sent me a message yesterday and he said, I wish someone had told me that a freestanding handstand wasn't going to change me as a person. But sometimes we sort of think that that's it. And maybe this time, this retreating, this withdrawing back gives us an opportunity for us to look at what we're resisting
Mm.
And, you know, I think the people that maybe, for a lot of people, a lot of yogis that have been able to sort of throw all of that control, which we all have, I'm the same, total control freak. You know, there's been something quite amazing about my diary sort of going and watching my reaction to that. And of course, probably like, you know, for a lot of us, you sort of thought at first, gosh, but actually I've got to say there's part of me that's like, space, not thinking too far ahead, focus on what am I like with, am I resisting or am I just going to try and go with it? What was before doesn't, as he said, doesn't necessarily mean it was better, because were we all happy? Were we living in an equal society? I mean, listen, we all know.
Mm.
I think that's something to really reflect on for us, if we, because we're in a movers group and we are connecting to practices that move our energy. And this implies that it's about where we create the space and how easily we can go with the flow.
Mm. 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 Yeah, I love it. I'm loving some of the comments from you guys. Emma, in some ways, for us older people, going more simple is a return to childhood. And in that way, it's very holistic, the wheel turning full circle. Feels like when I was a teenager growing up in the village, always in one place. I love that feeling of the cyclical nature of life. And Sam, using this wheel to inquire in the following way: to zoom out so my awareness is expansive and more honest. I've looked at the truth within me, call it the doing and thinking the right thing, perhaps being open to a reflection of truth as opposed to a filtered or figmented reality. Yes. Oh, I think that's brilliant. I love that, Sam. I think that recent events have shown us that there's never been a more important time to look to truth.
Yeah.
Within ourselves, for sure, as a start. So yes, living life more simply, get rid of the busyness and noise, have deeper connection to ourselves, nature. Yeah.
Yeah. See, and this is what is so powerful moving forward, is that for so many of us, we are feeling and thinking the same.
Mm.
And collectively, this is just not on our group, but collectively, teachers, we know this because, you know, our students share this way, you know, and their thoughts with us, that this is I do believe that this is a really important time that we are living in. And we do have some choices, and those intentions, those affirmations that we make are going to inform, I think, not only the world that we see, but the attitude that we will bring to the world. Because attitude is, you know, such a important part in all of this, because we can't change things that have happened. But yoga teaching says that we can change the attitude, so we can change the one who sees. You know, and you know, I'm very mindful when I share my thoughts, that there may be people, even within our group, who think, but I feel terrified that my diary has become completely. I am well aware of that. And I think that we, you know, as compassionate beings, what all we are doing, us two, with the group, is sharing our thoughts as openly as we can. But we do recognize, and I think we must recognize, that for many people, this is a very frightening, it's a very painful time, especially, you know, families of loved ones, they've lost people, and that may continue to happen. So being aware of that, just always having that in the in the background. There was, I think it was last week, there was a beautiful post that people put round about different things of, I don't know if many of you saw that, where it had a statement, you know, you might see somebody and they're not socially distancing, be kind. You might, at the end of every of those scenarios, be kind, just reflect, because everyone has been in this experience. There's lots of us in our group who maybe are feeling like we are, but we also hopefully appreciate that there may have been others who have felt isolated even more, that haven't felt like that. And I've been very aware of that, just being very careful with my language and thoughts. And I think that's important to acknowledge, and we can acknowledge that within being able to hold other beings in our practice. That's what intention does. I've had a couple of students who have shared with me that family members have been unwell, and I've tried to think about that in my intention of practice. Then it takes it out of it being about me. And I think that's really important in yoga. When you start yoga, it's generally about you. And then here's another one I think that you might like. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Now, I couldn't find who wrote that, but it's very beautiful.
That's very, very beautiful. That resonates. Well, that's yoga to me.
Yeah.
And Tash actually speaks exactly to the point that you were saying. Whether I'm alone, she works in finance and has a whole new dimension of business who need your expertise. And this time, and finding time, has been a real struggle. But you've created a diary entry for each of the sessions. So Tash, I just want to say well done to you for finding some time for yourself. Finally, it sounds like you really need it. You need to give yourself a little bit of space, a little pause. And I know that you're not alone. I know, many of my friends are having the busiest time that they've ever had, especially homeschooling people in caring professions, key workers. It's a really incredibly busy time for many souls right now. And that's exactly right, Andrea. We can't assume that everybody's diary is empty and everybody's going through such individual experiences. And well done, Tash, for creating the space here. It's important. Millie's got a question. Have you any thoughts on how to keep our intentions of simplicity going when the world around us starts changing and taking us back with it? E.g., when we have to start commuting to the office and the busyness takes over. I want to keep a sense of balance going forward. Andrea, I'd love to hear your answer to this as well, because I'm with you, Millie.
Well, I think this thing of always remember that if you're interested in this kind of work, you're not normal to begin with. And that's important. And Millie, we embrace you as someone who isn't normal herself. We embrace you to our new club. So I think that part of that is, first of all, just, that's interesting with you sort of being, you can find that yourself get dragged into it again. So there could be some things. I always like to say, go really gentle with yourself if you're going to make some bigger changes. But, there are some things. I know people have sort of talked about, normally if I was commuting, I'd stop, I'd get a coffee. I try to remember my reusable cup, but I often don't. I'm using the utensils. I'm using all of that. So you could plan a little bit for that you could take, your things. You could grow your own things. You could take your own lunches in. You could do those kinds of the things which can help, that you don't get into that rhythm. So there's some things that you can do that are small things. You could take your lunch to a park or something like that, so that you then go and just sit with nature for a little bit. I mean, I think it's easy for me as a yoga teacher in being able to sometimes be prepared. And I'm well aware, because I have loads of students that commute, and they always tell me how difficult it is, that you sort of feel a little bit like the animals do sometimes, that we get these herds of you know, moving forward. So a little bit of planning, thinking about maybe a mantra, maybe listen to an inspiring podcast. There's plenty, there's a few that I know. You know, keep yourself in tune with spiritual practices. And sometimes if I need a bit of motivation to not go with the crowd, is to listen to somebody talk in a way that helps me connect with that. And that recharges my motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a really key one for me, for sure. That if I'm feeling over busy and over anxious, I think to be able to listen to inspiring talks and people who are doing things a little bit differently, so we can remind ourselves that there's plenty of not normal people out there, thank goodness.
Exactly. There's loads of us. And, you know, there's another point with that is that, again, it's an interesting thought that our attitude is that we have to follow the crowd. And if you were to think of maybe making a list of inspiring people that you know, even people that are in, you know, your local community, because they're activists, they're yogis, you know, I'm sure like in our community, there's been people delivering to people that needed food. Think about, if you write a list of those people, probably none of those people are doing things particularly normal. And that can help motivate you.
Absolutely. And I think also working out little things, as you said, about reframing your life, that's a really important one. How we're going to get that coffee that really helps us on our journey. And I know I've got also lots of friends who are commuting, and they're thinking about finding different ways of commuting.
Yeah.
So I think finding different ways of doing that same thing. For me, I've been growing my vegetables, which I've loved. And my fear is that I'm going to get dragged into the world and my poor vegetables are going to be suffering. But I'm actually making little commitments to them and to garden, to keep my hands in the earth, to keep that as a daily practice. That grounding, it's almost like, for me, it's like a plug. I'm plugging into nature. I'm plugging into what's real. And so long as I keep doing that.
Yes, that's really important. And I mean, that's where the practice comes in. I mean, we think about a practice being on a sticky mat, but the practice is in the commuting, the practice is in the garden, the practice is thinking about what you're going to buy or grow or eat. These are all or support. These are all parts of the practice. I think what's been interesting is, though, from you know, different family members and my partner, you know, who's, you know, in, you know, more of a normal job, that companies have started to realize that because there's certain apps and different things that they can use, that actually they could have some of their workforce that do work from home occasionally. So if there is the possibility for that, I know a couple of students who've already asked, moving forward, would it be possible for me to do 2 days going into London and 3 days at home? Now that, I don't know whether that would be the future, but think about the messages that would be just on the environment, for example. The fact that so many of us haven't been using cars, you know, all of these things it's what we're choosing to connect to.
Yeah, I think that's right. And Heidi, thank you so much for sharing this quote, because I think this is beautiful. If you wish to avoid thorns, don't cover the earth with leather. Put on sandals.
Very true.
Isn't that lovely? Or even vegan sandals.
Very true.
But yeah, that reframing, I think that's all about finding different ways to think of things. And lovely Mum has a comment. I think lockdown has made me more aware of others. Previously, I never had time to think of others. But now I'm aware that my friends might be going through tough times and some are not as lucky as I. Yeah, I think it's made us all a bit aware of how other folks are living. It's good.
I do highly recommend, many of you in the group may have seen some of his work, but I've been studying his work. He's a Buddhist teacher, Jack Cornfield, for many years.
Oh, yes.
And he has a lovely quote that I've put in the affirmation list: we can always begin again.
Oh, I love that.
Very simple. I find the ones that have always really resonated with me are just like you had that reaction. It's that reaction. That's what you want with that intention. So, you know, who was it who was saying about, it wasn't Heidi, was it? It was, because I don't have the names up, who was saying about when she was going back to commuting, and she's worried.
Yes. Was that Millie? I think
It was Millie.
Millie.
Millie, you know, you can begin your journey back into work maybe with a new framework. As I said, you know, it doesn't mean that, okay, now I put my suit on or whatever and I go back. You will be changed. We will all be changed by this experience. We're always changed every day by our experience.
Yeah, and Joanne, you're with me as well. For the first time, I've had space to grow my own veg and commit to looking after them every day. Yeah, it really does change everything. And Sam, I love Andrea's yoga class. I go to them when I need a yoga mom. Isn't that lovely? You're such a lovely way to say this is what you need to do right now. Oh, how lovely. However, today I took your advice to do plank in your morning practice in the supermarket and didn't go down very well.
Really? Social distance plank, I hope.
That's hysterical. I love it. Yeah. And Millie, yes, bring the practice to everything, not just the sticky mats. That's completely what my biggest lifelong mission is now. It's how to take the yoga off the mat. Because, you know, we can all make the shapes. We can all do the, you know, do that 10, 15, 20 hour every day on the mat. But what is it we're doing with the rest of our 24 hours? And
well, the thing is, the thing with that is asana can change us as long as we have an intention for that to happen. So that's where most people miss the point. So we put on our yoga outfit and you can sort of go through and yes, it releases tension through the body, but the powerful affirmation and intention setting is what changes the person who's doing it. That's the whole point. So, you know, I love asana, but has asana changed me as an individual? I think my ability to step off the mat and not just see asana as posture, that is what helps frame me as an individual. Because you see in the Jivamukti tradition, that's why I love it so much, asana means seat, your connection to something. So when you're out gardening and you're tending for the veggies, that's your asana. That's your seat. That's showing your connection, whether you're yoked in it or you're not. And if we choose, you know, our commute or our interaction with friends or our interaction with our boss as an asana, I think we may look at that differently.
And I love the thought of, and this is something that I have played with in life, is reframing and setting an intention before a meeting with your boss, setting an intention before your commute. So it's very normal in this world for us all to get up quickly, put on your clothes, and just try to get out of the house quick as possible. And you're basically, the intention of our commute is let's get to work quickly. But in doing that, you miss out on that hour of your life. So perhaps to set an intention for the commute period, that might be something that could be a possibility that you could take from your yoga practice.
Well, I'm going to share with you something that, you know, I live with a yogi, even though he has a corporate job. And let me give you a little bit of advice from Nigel. What he does when he has to go into London for his commute is he'll listen to a TED talk or a podcast, and he always comes back and says, this was wonderful, you should use this. So he doesn't see that commute as a waste. This is why I'm saying to Millie, using his time wisely. Read an inspirational book, do your journaling, write poetry, listen to music, listen to a symphony. And by the time you get to the office, you're just going to be floating. You're going to have changed your inner landscape. So we mustn't look like the bits in between are like a waste. It's our attitude towards those bits in between that create. I want to read this one to you that's quite well known, but again, I think it's very beautiful. The Lao Tzu one, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Who is saying that about the Rumi quote?
Oh, that's Fiona.
Oh, hello, Fiona.
Andrea, your Rumi quote's inspired, but isn't that wonderful? You've taken redundancy or setting up your own dog walking and pet care business. Good for you. I'm sure you won't ever look back.
Excellent. Oh, it was a joke about the plank in the supermarket. Oh, you've disappointed me. I want you all to go and do planks in the supermarket. Kept me amused thinking about doing it. Yeah, I tell you something. I remember once, many years ago, a student stopping me in the supermarket. I won't say what supermarket it was, but it was quite an ethical one. And they said, I'm really worried about my headstand. Could you just show me a few things? And I just did a headstand in the aisle.
Fair enough.
There you go. That's the thing. Asana is everywhere.
I like that. That's excellent. Oh dear. Sam, that's really good that this has sort of struck a chord. Using the intention as we go into our everyday life. I think that's really what this retreat is about. For me, this is sort of, yes, it's the discernment, it's the observation, it's observing what it is that we've been doing in lockdown and how that relates, whether or not we've been busier or have had more time, either of which things will have changed for us.
Yeah.
And to take that time to observe and set an intention as to how we want the next step to be, knowing that each journey is, there is 1,000 miles, but it's one step that we're looking at. And what is that step that we're taking? So that observation through this 10 days, I think, is so key.
Yeah.
But also taking it off the mat. So you have your intention on the mat, and how can we take it? How can we weave our yoga into everyday life to create our life of a yoga practice?
I think it really takes time with that. I think, for many of us, it takes time. And you see, this is the thing with yoga, is that, people, because of our society, we want these very quick results. And, the questions really that we possibly can ask on this retreat, at the end of the 8 days, do I feel calmer? Do I feel collected? Do I feel that I can take that next step? Not having to think too far ahead, but take the next step, or take the next week, or take the next month. These are the things that, in general, whether or not we are staying at home or in the previous few months, these are questions that yoga asks us to look at. And I'm always surprised, and I agree, when for a lot of the movers who've said how busy we are. Sometimes busyness is something that happens to us because we don't want to look at something that's underneath. So, really, another of my teachers, Judith Hanson-Lassiter, always says, look at your diaries, which she always used to say to us, and literally take 3 things out that are not essential. And you'll realize that so much of what was in the diary is not necessarily essential. It's just because we want to be busy.
And it's not even that fun sometimes.
No.
Even the fun things that we have in the diary, as this is my hobby, or I'm going to meet up with friends. Well, by the time you've kind of got home from work and, it can be a stress. It can be a strain putting too many things in.
I think we should, during this time, I think it has given us time to reflect on, it sounds obvious what is important to us. But something that I heard actually in a podcast the other day is that what we'll have done in lockdown and the routines that we've created, and maybe the things or the hobbies that we have been able to do, I know within reason, because some things we haven't all been able to go out and play tennis because we haven't been allowed, but they're the things that actually we individually deem important to us. So if there's some things that you haven't done and you could have done but you just didn't sign up for them, don't put them back in your diary, because they obviously were not that important. I thought that was very interesting.
I love that. I love it. And I think it's that thing of don't listen to your thoughts, listen to what you're doing. Like, what is it that we actually do? Because that's always the answer. What we do is kind of what we want to be doing.
Well, here's another one that I think is fabulous. Again, it's unknown. I don't know who wrote it. Don't believe everything that you think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That would be super as a powerful intention for the next 8 days. By all means, journal. And then when you reread some of the journaling, you think, God, what was I thinking?
What was I thinking? And that self-inquiry, that ability to take a step back, that ability to just see what is going on in our minds. Well, that's something that I'm going through a process right now about the issues of race. And I know that many, many of us are. And it's really, really important to take a deeper look into our mindsets on all of these issues. What is it that really is going on in my head? Can I uncover subconscious things that I'm thinking? I'm not even aware necessarily that I'm thinking, but I shouldn't believe the things that I'm thinking, because often they're just put in there by the culture or something that we don't want. So can we uncover those things as well, our biases, our stereotypes, our assumptions to other people?
And all of this work, which is work that, we all need to do, is, again, not something that is going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, and it needs to be in a setting with ourselves personally and with others where we go gently with it, and we share also as well what we're learning, and we're sharing what we're watching and reading to educate ourselves in all of those ways. And this is what's so good about the Movers Group, again, because something that I've found, and I knew, but I hadn't really recognized it, is the power of that is the group, is belonging to a community, belonging to a tribe of people, of yogis, of whatever, that this has been incredibly helpful for people. I know that. I know lots of people have reached out to you, Kat. Lots of people have reached out to us as teachers. And, our intention could have been to not do anything. And no one's knocking anybody that doesn't do anything. But, I've been talking a lot about this is a time, if you are interested in this work, to show up in order that others can feel held in the space. And the space, when I show up, also holds me. So we're holding each other in that space of inquiry and everything else. And you can't put a value on that.
Absolutely. You're so right, because I feel so supported by you and the whole community here. And it's that, it's a bit scary to come out the box and to put my views forward and to say what's been going on. But actually, you can feel held by it. And I suppose that's what I was saying yesterday, is that it's lovely to hear people's voices. It's lovely to hear your voices and what you're going through, because it's going to resonate and lift everybody else up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is an interesting thought from Emma. I used to notice how people fill up their children's lives with endless clubs and activities, and it's with the best of intention, but it's giving ourselves that mental and physical space. Yeah, absolutely. And we replicate in our children how our own lives run, and then we're showing the children how this is how it's going to be when you grow up. And wouldn't it be nice if we all put days and blocks of nothing in our diaries? I'm busy doing nothing. I can't do anything today.
But you know, we had that last time from Ramdas, the be here now, you know. That's it. That's what we have.
Yeah.
I wanted also this one. I picked quite a few that were unknown, but I really like trust in the process of life. So trust has come up actually a little bit in the chat, and maybe trust as an intention could be something again that some of in the group might like to use. You know, what do you trust in? Can you again sort of, is there an ability within us as yogis to sort of, you know, relax back and trust that something greater and for the benefit of all will eventually come out of this? So the trust in the process of life, you know, as we said earlier, it's that circle of life that continues, and we have been completely immersed in that, all of us, in a very profound way, because death has been brought up so much for us during this time. And you know, birth, the start of something, and then the process. And in yogic terms, this is, you know, this is yoga. It is that connection of three: birth, growth, death, and evolution into something else.
Absolutely. And knowing that this, it's kind of that losing control, isn't it? Because at the, you know, the whole thing about lockdown is everyone wants to know, when does normal return? But knowing that there is no timetable in life, and we can be okay with that.
Yeah.
And we can just trust that things will unfold as they're supposed to unfold.
Yeah. I think, again, you know, for I always say with anybody, whether they've been on a physical retreat and they email me off, what should I take away? Let things unfold gently. Don't make the necessarily the big changes. Just, you know, always be gentle with yourself, because when you have that approach, you can find that, you know, you're able to go a little bit more with the flow. It's when we get very abrupt and very sharp with ourselves that actually we get very abrupt with others in the world. Wow, there's some wonderful comments coming through, Kat.
I know, it's so lovely to see, and I'm so aware that time is running out. So we're going to, if we don't get to all of your comments, we'll be processing and looking.
We'll have a read. I'll have a read later.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody.
But I'm glad for Frankie, the space has inspired you to have honest, braver conversations. Because, gosh, I think if there's one thing as well, gosh, I said that one thing a few times, but it's that being fearless for truth, being fearless in your self-inquiry, and know that this process of self-inquiry, for me, for sure, it's not a pretty process. I'm not looking inside at the ideal person, at the person I want to be, at the person I had hoped that I would be. I'm looking at the real me. And that's not pretty always. It's not the person I want to be. It's the real me. And it just that honesty of where we are right now and how we can learn from that.
And that is where, when we're doing that kind of work, you know, practices that support that on the mat are crucial. Because otherwise we can spiral downwards a lot. So, you know, being mindful in meditation, yin style practices, you know, those gentler practices that just allow us to let these emotions and these thoughts and these feelings come to the surface. And of course, that is also what happens on a retreat. So on a physical retreat, you see this. Day 3 or day 4, normally everyone has broke down by then.
So we can be ready for that.
and then, you know, the breaking down, you know, they let go of something and, you know, and then, you know, and then we sort of move forward. I wanted to say this one because I think it's really important. Kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. So if we all had that at the top of our retreat, that's a Lao Tzu one again. Be kind. That's the yoga practice. Even if all of us, you know, had that, just think, Kat, if all of us had that in our group now, that is what we're going to keep remembering on our commute, on our yoga mat. Be kind. That changes the world. Because it changes the individual that has then the ability and the confidence to change the world. Yeah, because they're looking at themselves.
I totally agree. I think that, gosh, if we can all find a way to be kind.
I think that's a brilliant one to end on.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. And thank you so much, Andrea, for your thoughts. You're such a wise human. You spent such a long time dedicated to your practice and the practice of your students, and being able to share that with us is so invaluable. I've learned so much from you.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for joining us today. As I say, I can't see everybody's names, but I will comment and read them all later on. And wishing everybody lots of love, and enjoy the rest of your retreat. And we will all be checking in and seeing how you're getting on.
Absolutely. And let us know what your evening practice is, everybody. I think I might be doing one of your yin classes, Andrea. That's my...
Oh, yeah. Rest and digest would be good.
Oh, yeah.
I suggest that. Rest and digest.
Oh, I like
that. Would be really nice for the intentions.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Onwards. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm so delighted to have you here with me and with us both. And thank you. Let's all continue being here for each other.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Namaste. Namaste. Yin all the way.
I know. It's not, I don't know if it's stopped filming yet. I think it's still on.
Well, they get a little bit extra.
Yeah. But I think the rest and digest is perfect. I think it's still on. I'm going, oh, something went wrong. It so says my computer. Typical. Right. I think I'm just going to shut it down. I'm going to see you later, my lovely. Much love.
Bye, darling. Bye. See you soon.